What's up, everyone? My name is Jedith, and this is our very first look at the first tree that we're going to get in the War Within. These are the hero talent trees. We're getting two because we have two specs, so we'll be getting one tree kind of between each. But today we got our very first one, and I haven't looked at it yet. I have no idea what to expect. Nobody in chat, I told everyone in chat to not say anything, to not spoil it for me. So this is going to be the first look at it. I'll probably have some more opinions on it later in the day or even in the next couple days. But what you're going to see me kind of react to right now is just my initial opinions and sort of initial thoughts and impressions on this first tree. So the first one we are getting is the Eldraki Reaver. Let's read the description of it. It says, so specializations Havoc and Vengeance, meaning both specs can use this. The Eldraki warriors were ultimate glaive masters and wielded their blades with deadly grace. Each kill fueled their weapon, imbuing them with greater power. They were so indomitable that Sargeras eventually bathed their world in Fellfire himself. Their spirit and teachings live on. Okay, so let's zoom in here a bit. So this is just an example over here as to how it's going to be laid out. As you can see, the two specs, Havoc and Vengeance, and then there's two hero talent trees to pick from. There's the Eldraki Reaver and the Fellscard. Again, we only have Eldraki Reaver today. So the very first one, Art of the Glaive, consuming 3 or as Havoc or 20 as Vengeance soul fragments, allows you to cast Reaver's Glaive. So Reaver's Glaive replaces Throw Glaive. Throw a glaive enhanced with the essence of consumed souls at your target, dealing physical damage and ricocheting to 2 additional targets for additional damage. Okay, it's pretty standard so far. Begins a well-practiced pattern of glaive work, enhancing your next Chaos Strike and Blade Dance for Havoc, or Fracture, Fracture, Shear, and Soul Cleave for Vengeance. Chaos Strike, Shear, and Fracture applies Reaver's Mark, which causes the target to take 15% increased damage for 5 seconds. That's a lot. 15% increased damage? Blade Dance and Soul Cleave deal 3 additional glaive slashes to nearby targets for additional damage. Okay, so the big difference here is that it's replacing Throw Glaive, right? So the standard, I'm assuming the standard Throw Glaive ability is gone, which you can just press when you have enough fury to press it. With this one, you'll only be able to press it after you've consumed 3 soul fragments. This might make a bit more sense as we keep reading, but that's like the main thing that's sticking out to me so far, is that it's replacing the Throw Glaive ability, which we usually just have free reign of casting whenever we have enough fury, and it's, not on cooldown, to this where you need to consume 3 soul fragments. But perhaps there's no cooldown on this at all. Maybe just every time you consume 3 soul fragments, you can cast it, and there's no, whatever it is now, 7-second recharge time or whatever. Okay, let's keep reading. Let's start from the left side. Keen Engagement. Reaver's Glaive generates 20 fury. Okay, interesting. So it goes from costing fury to actually generating fury. Throw Glaive deals damage to enemies near its initial target. Deals damage to enemies near its initial target. So is that just like splash damage? It's not bouncing, but it's just splash damage. Interesting. Okay. So if we go down the middle, Evasive Action. Vengeful Retreat can be cast a second time within 3 seconds. Unhindered Assault. Vengeful Retreat resets the cooldown of Fellblade. Interesting. So anytime you use Vengeful Retreat, you're always going to have a Fellblade to use right after to get back into melee range. Very cool. And with this, Vengeful Retreat can be cast a second time within 3 seconds. That'll be interesting with Initiative. Within 3 seconds. I wonder if we'll be able to Vengeful Retreat, Fellblade back in, Vengeful Retreat again, and Fellblade back in. Also, does this mean you can just chain Vengeful Retreats? Because does the second cast of it also benefit from this? Can you go like Oh, they're choice nodes. Okay, these are choice nodes, right. So you can choose one or the other. So I guess my question still stands. With this one, the Vengeful Retreat can be cast a second time within 3 seconds. Does the second VR also benefit from this? So can you, like, kind of chain them? Interesting. Yeah. Curious to see how this interacts with initiative, assuming initiative is still a thing in the next expansion. Okay, let's go to the right. Incisive Blade. When enhanced, Chaos Strike and Soul Cleave deal 30% increased damage. So we use Art of the Glaive, Reaver's Glaive, sorry. Chaos Strike applies Reaver's Mark, which causes the target to take 15% increased damage for 5 seconds, as well as Chaos Strike also dealing 30% increased damage. That's quite a bit of damage amp. So here we're getting increased damage, 15% increased damage on everything, on all of our damage. And then Incisive Blade is also giving us 30% increased damage on Chaos Strike. Very cool. All right, let's go down to the next row. So on the very left, Eldraki Tactics. The second enhanced ability in a pattern shatters an additional soul fragment. The second enhanced ability in a pattern. Not sure what that means in a pattern. Does that just mean the second? Does that mean the second, like, consecutive enhanced ability, or like just the second one you hit after you've empowered? Let's come back to this. It might make more sense. Army unto oneself. So this is another choice node, so you can have one or the other. Army unto oneself. Fellblade surrounds you with a blade ward, reducing physical damage taken by 10% for 5 seconds. Wow. So Fellblade is becoming a defensive, which is pretty cool if you take it with Unhindered Assault, because Vengeful Retreat is resetting the cooldown of Fellblade. Fellblade is already... right now it's on a hasted cooldown. Mine's at 13 seconds. It's giving you reducing physical damage taken by 10%. Cool. I think that might just be kind of like a passive thing that we get. I don't think you would really play around this because it is just like physical damage, right? So it's kind of hard to anticipate what is physical and what's not. Like, obviously this won't work against a lot of stuff. But if there is something for sure that you know is physical, you can potentially play around it. Yeah, neat. Okay. The next choice, Incorruptible Spirit. Consuming a soul fragment also heals you for an additional 15% over time. Wow. Okay. Consuming a soul fragment also heals you. We're consuming a lot of soul fragments. Also heals you for an additional 15%. It's probably an additional 15% of what soul fragment currently heals you for, right? Like 15% of that. Probably not 15% of your overall health, your max health. I would assume it's an additional 15% of what a soul fragment heals you for. That's my guess for that one. Okay, on the right side, Wounded Quarry. While Reaver's Mark is on your target, melee attacks have a chance to strike with an additional Glaive Slash for damage and shatter a soul. While Reaver's Mark is on your target, okay, so that's applied by this. This is Reaver's Mark. Chaos Strike, Shear, and Fracture applies Reaver's Mark, which causes your target to take 15% increased damage for 5 seconds. So when we use Chaos Strike, it's putting a debuff on the target, which only lasts 5 seconds. But do keep in mind that Chaos Strike isn't on a cooldown. As long as you have enough Fury for it, you can spam it, right? So while we're using Chaos Strike, it's putting a debuff on the mob, and then any melee attacks have a chance to strike it with an additional Glaive slash for damage and shatter a soul. So it's almost just like giving Chaos Strike more of a chance to shatter another soul and give us a soul fragment. And when we get soul fragments, that's giving us more fury, which means we can spam Chaos Strike more. This is giving me one button Demon Hunter vibes a little bit. A little bit. Let's keep reading. The next row. Intent Pursuit. Casting an enhanced ability reduces the remaining cooldown of the hunt by 2 seconds. Casting an enhanced ability reduces the remaining cooldown of the hunt by 2 seconds. So essentially, for Havoc, it would be casting Chaos Strike. Spamming Chaos Strike reduces the cooldown on the hunt by 2 seconds. So on our tier set, we already have some cooldown reduction on the hunt. If you look at our 4 set, Throw Glaive reduces the remaining cooldown of the hunt by 2 seconds, and the hunt's damage over time, blah, 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 blah. So we're already reducing the cooldown of the hunt by 2 seconds. So I think this is intending to kind of replace this, except instead of Throw Glaive, we're getting that cooldown reduction from Chaos Strike. Okay. Escalation. Each successive enhanced ability deals 10% increased damage. Each successive. Does that mean consecutive? Like in a row? It must, right? Especially if the enhanced ability would be Chaos Strike. Because those can be consecutive or successive, whatever those words imply. So each one that we cast in a row before we run out of fury is doing 10% increased damage. The effect of the second enhancement is increased by 100%. The effect of the second enhancement, which would be what? Causing the target to take 15% increased damage? So that would go up to 30% increased damage? That would be the effect, right? The effect of the second enhancement is increased by 100%. I think that's what that means. Blade Dance and Soul Cleave deal 3 additional glaive slashes to nearby targets. Is this also an enhancement? Like to Blade Dance? I'm assuming this is also considered an enhancement effect, because that's coming from being able to throw a glaive. Right, we throw the glaive. Blade Dance and Soul Cleave deal 3 additional glaive slashes to nearby targets for additional damage. Okay. Warblade's Hunger. Consuming a soul fragment causes your next Chaos Strike, Shear, or Fracture to deal bonus damage. More damage just being piled onto Chaos Strike. This is actually kind of out of control. We have this adding bonus damage, whatever that means, to Chaos Strike. We have this increasing successive enhanced abilities deal 10% increased damage. So each one you cast in a row is doing 10% increased damage. When enhanced Chaos Strike deals an additional 30% increased damage. Chaos Strike is applying a 15% increased damage debuff to the target. There's a lot of focus on Chaos Strike here. Okay, let's read the last one here. Thrill of the Fight. After consuming both enhancement, gain Thrill of the Fight, increasing your attack speed by 15% for 5 seconds, and causing your next ability to deal 30% increased damage and healing. After consuming both enhancements. So does that mean when we use Reaver's Glaive, it gives us 2 consumable buffs? We have one for Chaos Strike and one for Blade Dance? Is that how I'm understanding it? After consuming both enhancements, gain Thrill of the Fight, increasing your attack speed by 15. Let's read the descriptions of these. Maybe this will clear some things up. So, Art of the Glaive. Consuming 3 or 20 soul fragments allows you to cast Reaver's Glaive. Reaver's Glaive. Throw a glaive enhanced with the essence of consumed souls at your target. Dealing physical damage. Begins a well practiced. This is essentially just like what we read, the tooltips, right? Oh, okay, here we go. Choice node. No, this is still just basically reading these. I thought there would be some explanations, but this is essentially just the same thing in text form. So we're on our own. We have to make sense of this on our own. Okay, let's go back up here. So, we get the first talent here, which replaces Throw Glaive with Reaver's Glaive. Reaver's Glaive can only be cast after you've consumed 3 soul fragments. Unlike Throw Glaive, which can just be cast currently if you have Furious Throws, it costs Fury. Otherwise, it doesn't cost Fury. This can only be cast after you've consumed 3 soul fragments. So you press Reaver's Glaive. It does everything that Throw Glaive normally does, like, hits a target, bounces around, whatever. But it also begins a well-practiced pattern of glaive work, enhancing your next Chaos Strike and Blade Dance. Okay, so it's giving us a buff for both. Enhancing your next Chaos Strike and Blade Dance. It's not or. It's not one or the other. It's Chaos Strike and Blade Dance. So we're getting 2 buffs. Chaos Strike applies Reaver's Mark, which causes the target to take 15% increased damage for 5 seconds. And then Blade Dance deals 3 additional glaive slashes to nearby targets for additional damage. If we go down the left side, pressing Throw Glaive, or the new version of Throw Glaive, Reaver's Glaive, is actually turning into a Fury generator. So we're consuming 3 soul fragments, which also gives us Fury. We press the button, and it gives us 20 Fury if we go down this left side. And then Throw Glaive, instead, not and, or, Throw Glaive deals damage to enemies near its initial target. So you can opt out of generating Fury to basically just do more splash damage, it seems. And this one here is a choice node as well. So Vengeful Retreat can be cast a second time within 3 seconds. Yeah, my main question about that one is, like, can they be chained? Does the second Vengeful Retreat also benefit from this? Can you kind of like chain your VRs? I don't know why you would want to do that, really. Maybe to like, I don't think that would be any faster in terms of like traveling somewhere. Like if you're trying to get somewhere quickly, I think it's faster just to run and like Fell Rush. The other choice is Unhindered Assault. Vengeful Retreat resets the cooldown of Fellblade. This is really nice. I like this one because anytime that you use VR, you're going to have a Fellblade to get back in or just move a bit closer to the target that you're trying to get to. Yeah, I'm excited to test these because I think there's going to be some very interesting maneuver type of things that you can do with these. Okay, so anyways, back to the right one. So when enhanced, Chaos Strike deals 30% increased damage. So this isn't adding anything to Blade Dance. It's only adding something to Chaos Strike if you go down the right side. So although Reaver's Glaive is giving us a buff for Chaos Strike and Blade Dance, going down this side seems to only be buffing Chaos Strike. While Reaver's Mark is on your target, melee attacks have a chance to strike with an additional Glaive Slash for damage. So generally when it says melee attacks, that's only something where you actually like attack with your weapon. So it's not looking at like whether it's physical or like chaos damage or whatever. It's generally something where you're attacking with your weapon, like your character animation is slashing with its glaive. So that would be like, you know, Chaos Strike, Blade Dance. Wouldn't be Immolation Aura, wouldn't be I-Beam. I would assume it would be Essence Break. Fellblade for sure. Maybe, yeah, Fellblade. No sigils. Yeah, none of that stuff. Whoops. And then consuming a soul fragment causes your next Chaos Strike. Yeah, okay. So going down the right side is very Chaos Strike centric. It's focusing mainly on Chaos Strike. But from what I understand of how these talent trees work, you don't choose where to go, right? Like, in the end, you're going to have all of these. In the end, you're going to fill this all out. The only choices you really have is the choice nodes. So the only like real decision making we'll have to do is these choice nodes. It's not like we're starting up here and we say like, okay, we only want to go left. It's not like the talent trees we have now, where we have to make decisions and be like, okay, we want to go this way, but not get these left talents. Eventually, we're going to have all of these. So that's something to keep in mind when we're reading this. Eldraki Tactics. The second enhanced ability in a pattern shatters an additional soul fragment. Okay. So this just means whichever one you press second, whether it's Chaos Strike or Blade Dance, that's going to shatter an additional soul fragment. Begins a well-practiced pattern of glaive work, enhancing your next Chaos Strike. Yeah, so whichever one you use within that pattern, right, which is essentially, from what I understand, just a buff that you get to both abilities. Whichever one you press second will shatter an additional soul fragment. And this is good because, right, as you're consuming a soul fragment, you're getting the opportunity to press Reaver's Glaive again. I think consuming 3 soul fragments is going to happen a lot quicker than you might think. Let's see. So this middle one is like our defensive node. So we can choose to either get a reduced physical damage taken by 10% for 5 seconds from Fellblade, or consuming a soul fragment heals you for an additional 15% over time. So yeah, my two sort of initial thoughts on this one is, one, the Fellblade one is physical damage only, which is only a portion, usually a pretty small portion of the damage that we take as a whole. You can play around it, but yeah, I think this one is definitely more tuned around tanking because you're taking auto attacks, right? So that's probably that probably makes a bit more sense there. Incorruptible Spirit. I think with this one, the additional 15% is it's giving you an extra 15% of what a soul fragment heals you for, and not an additional 15% of your max health, because that would just be pretty broken. That's my best guess. I could be wrong. But it's probably an extra 15% of what a lesser soul fragment heals you for. Here's markers on your target, melee attacks. Yes. Okay, we already looked at that. Intent Pursuit. Casting an enhanced ability. So casting an enhanced ability, Chaos Strike or Blade Dance, reduces the remaining cooldown of the hunt by 2 seconds. I'm trying to think of how this would compare to the current hunt cooldown reduction that we have. Because right now with our tier set, we're getting cooldown reduction from Throw Glaive, which is being cast every time we press Blade Dance. And we have 2 charges of it. So, technically Blade Dance would still be reducing the cooldown of the hunt, but so would Chaos Strike. And I think with all of the fury that we're getting back from things, the soul fragments that we're consuming, because keep in mind, soul fragments also give you fury. I think we will be kind of spamming Chaos Strike quite a bit. And like even this, the enhanced second ability, the second enhanced ability in the pattern shatters an additional soul fragment. So yeah, I think overall it would probably match, if not be a little bit more cooldown reduction than what we currently have, which is cool. I think this is a good sign that they've recognized that the tier set that we have currently makes our gameplay so much better, and they're finding ways to put that into these builds. So I think that's a great sign. I like that. Only when they're enhanced, but I do think that we're going to be pressing Reaver's Glaive quite a bit. I feel like this will be close to, I don't want to say permanent uptime, but consuming 3 soul fragments I think can happen pretty quick. Because there may be other ways for us to, like, we have something like this, right? Critical Chaos. Again, these might change completely by the time we get to the next expansion, all of these, like, regular talents, but we have something like this. The chance that Chaos Strike will refund 20 Fury is increased by 30% of your critical strike chance. So that's just giving us, if we were to go down this path, we'd have a lot more Fury to work with. And we also just naturally have, where can I find this? What am I looking for here? I think it's, yeah, it's in here. So killing an enemy sometimes creates a soul fragment that is consumed. That's not what I'm looking for. Demonic Appetite. Chaos Strike has a chance to spawn a lesser soul fragment. So we're going to be spamming Chaos Strike if we take that talent tree. So that's just, you know, more of a chance to spawn these soul fragments. So I do think that we're going to be consuming a lot of soul fragments. Which is good, not just for, you know, being able to press Reaver's Glaive, but we're also, like, from all those soul fragments, we get a lot of healing. We get a lot of healing, we get a lot of fury. So I think the cooldown reduction on the hunt is probably going to be pretty good. Escalation, each successive enhanced ability deals 10% increased damage. Okay, so this wouldn't be spamming Chaos Strike then, right? Because it's each successive enhanced ability. Because if you have the buff, right, and you have your 2 abilities enhanced, you press Chaos Strike, do you lose the buff for Chaos Strike after that? And then you can only press an enhanced Blade Dance? Yeah, this isn't quite clear on how that works. Throw a glaive enhanced with the essence of consumed souls at your target, dealing physical damage and ricocheting to 2 additional targets. Begins a well-practiced pattern of glaive work, enhancing your Chaos Strike and Blade Dance. So Chaos Strike applies Reaver's Mark, which causes the target to take 15%. Blade Dance deals 3 additional glaive slashes to nearby targets. Well, the 5 seconds thing is only to Reaver's Mark that Chaos Strike is applying, so that's a completely different debuff. This is like a secondary effect of this, right? So you get Reaver's Glaive, you press it, it gives you a buff, which gives you benefits to Chaos Strike and Blade Dance. Your next Chaos Strike and Blade Dance. So you could use this, you could use Reaver's Glaive and then hold on to the buff. And your next Chaos Strike and Blade Dance, whenever that may be, would benefit from these effects. So Chaos Strike applies the debuff, which makes your target take 15% increased damage for 5 seconds, which is a pretty short window, to be honest. And then Blade Dance deals 3 additional glaive slashes to nearby targets for additional damage. So each successive enhanced ability. What does successive mean? Each successive enhanced ability. The effect of the second enhancement is increased by 100%. If it means in order, then I think in a lot of cases this would probably apply to Blade Dance, because each successive enhanced ability deals 10% increased damage. You'd probably want to use Chaos Strike, put Reaver's Mark on the target, which makes them take 15% increased damage, and then use a Blade Dance inside of that 15% increased damage. And that effect, the 3 additional glaive slashes to nearby targets for additional damage, that would be increased by 100%. So I guess that would be 6 additional glaive slashes? Is that how that would work? Or is it this effect that it's increasing by 100? I guess that's where my confusion is. This second part, the effect of the second enhancement is increased by 100%. It's not talking about this. Each successful enhanced ability deals 10%. It says the effect of the second enhancement. So the enhancements are these 2 things. So if it's increasing the effect of the second enhancement, if you use Blade Dance second, it would do an additional 6 glaive slashes instead of 3. Or if you used Chaos Strike second, assumedly your target would take 30% increased damage for 5 seconds, which is pretty big. Pretty big. Okay. Consuming a soul fragment causes your next Chaos Strike to deal bonus damage. What is bonus damage? It's not quite clear. Bonus damage. Consuming a soul fragment causes your next Chaos Strike. Does this stack? Because a lot of the times, especially if we're going to be shattering a lot of soul fragments and picking them up quickly, I feel like this buff would get wasted a lot. Because it's consuming a soul fragment causes your next Chaos Strike. So if you pick up a soul fragment and you don't use this, you do something else. Oh, it's your next, yeah, it's your next Chaos Strike. So if you pick up a soul fragment, but then you just kind of pick up another one, you're not getting the benefit 2 times. You're just kind of getting 1. So this is kind of just like a passive buff. Okay. Then Thrill of the Fight. After consuming both enhancements, so after consuming Chaos Strike and Blade Dance, gain Thrill of the Fight, increasing your attack speed by 15%. Attack speed, is that auto attacks? Because it doesn't say haste. Attack speed by 15% for 5 seconds, and causing your next ability to deal 30% increased damage and healing. I feel like there was something in the past, in the recent past, with Havoc that used the same kind of verbiage, where it was attack speed. And I can't remember what it was. It increased your attack speed. It's for sure auto attacks, which that alone is pretty good because of Demon Blades. Your auto attacks deal an additional amount of chaos damage and generate fury. So it's kind of like getting Wind Fury almost. Our auto attacks are happening more often. We're getting more fury from it. So that's pretty good. You get that after consuming both enhancements. So Chaos Strike and Blade Dance. And honestly, I do think that we're gonna have pretty good uptime on this. I think we're gonna have pretty good uptime, and then yeah, then it's up to us to like use something hefty with this 30% increased damage, right? It could be anything. It could be the Hunt. It could be Fel Barrage. Maybe we're using Fel Barrage in some scenario. Glaive Tempest. Even buffing Immolation Aura by 30%. Actually, I wouldn't do that. Because it's your next ability to deal 30% increased damage. It would probably just apply to the initial hit of Immolation Aura, which I think wouldn't be worth overall in the end, you know, contributing to your Rage Fire. So the Hunt would be good. Fel Barrage, I think, could be really cool. There's no way to apply it directly to Rage Fire because that's not an ability you press. It's an effect. The only way you can add damage to Rage Fire is from making Immolation Aura do more damage. But that alone is tough because Immolation Aura happens over an amount of time. So I don't know if 30% increased damage would only apply to that initial tick that happens when you press the ability, or maybe it would apply to all the dot ticks. I'm not sure. But either way, you know, we have 2 charges of Immolation Aura. So I don't think it would be best used on Immolation Aura. But again, any hard-hitting ability like the Hunt, Glaive Tempest, you know, maybe a powerful Unbound Chaos could be kind of cool. Fel Barrage, maybe, if there's some situation where we're using it. It's unfortunate that Fel Barrage got nerfed so badly, because there was a point earlier this season where it was our main ability that we were using in Mythic Plus. So that sucks that it got nerfed and we're not using it too often now. But like I said, I do think that some of these talents are going to be probably tuned. Probably we might see some minor changes to these. I wouldn't expect massive changes to our actual like spec talent trees, but I do think they might make a couple tweaks here and there to better interact with the hero talents. So yeah, this is pretty cool. I'm not bummed at these. I'm not bummed at all. I think the fact that they added the Hunt cooldown reduction, I think this is a good sign. I like this, because this shows that they've recognized players like the way that the current tier set works, and they're finding ways to incorporate it. It's interesting. It's very interesting. It'll be fun to play with. So I'm just trying to think of like what our rotation would look like. We'll definitely be pressing throw glaive. So if you didn't like the old version of the build we currently play, like back in season 1 where you had to manually press throw glaive, you might not like this talent tree. Because you do have to press throw glaive. This is a button you have to press. Reaver's glaive. So you will be pressing it, but then you have more time in between to do other things. Right, we'll be using a lot of Chaos Strikes. Blade Dance is still involved. Hopefully Blade Dance stays tuned and balanced in a point where like it's still good. Because Blade Dance has had a pretty bad history of being completely useless and then getting buffs and being back to where it needs to be. So hopefully it stays. Because we're kind of forced to press it here. You have to press it to consume both pattern buffs, pattern enhanced buffs, right? It's the only way that you can get thrill of the fight. So hopefully they make both of those abilities feel good to press. But yeah, overall, I think this is pretty good. I'm overall pretty happy with this. My one concern is that it's a 5-second buff with Reaver's Mark. So trying to line that up with some of the other short-term buffs that we have, like Inertia, Initiative, might be a little annoying. But I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it all kind of fits into our rotation, and if our rotation even stays the same. It could be completely different. It's too early to tell. But I do think this is pretty good. So, let me know what you guys think. What are your feelings, your initial impressions on this new talent tree? Let me know in the comments below. And I'll be sure to post another video as soon as we get the second tree, the Felsguard. My prediction for what Felsguard is going to be, after seeing this one, it's probably going to be more meta focused. It's probably going to be you're in demon form, blast as a demon, probably I-beam focused, maybe Fel Barrage focused, something like that. So really excited to see the next one. But overall, I think this is good. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.